All right, what is up? Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It doesn't look like Andrew's going to make it today, so I'm going to roll this one solo, which is totally fine. It should only take about 15, 20 minutes to cover this particular scam. Let me see if I got a screenshot here, because I might have saved one or two at least from this week. So debt relief, debt forgiveness, free debt. Let me see if I got one here. No, I didn't save. Oh, no. Free consult. Okay. So you'll see this on platforms that can put offers out to their audiences around debt relief. And I'll tell you why it's a bit of a scam. First of all, the language that you'll see used will be something along the lines of, let me just turn off this. I don't need my headphones. Will be something along the lines of, you've got an opportunity to get free debt help, or it's a government program tied into debt help. And it's kind of true, but it's also a bit of a underhanded scam job. And I'll tell you why. Because what these companies do is they'll offer a free service to the public under the guise that generous corporate donations help pay for the program. Of course, you guys know nobody works for free. You can't run an office space for free. You can't, like, employees just don't show up and donate their time for free. It is what it is. There's not much that you can do about it. Save changes. There we go. I'm having issues with StreamYard today. It's not casting to Facebook, so it'll be on YouTube only today for some reason. So it should be fairly obvious that there is no free lunch. Yet, how do these companies promote a free get out of debt program, or a free debt relief program, or a free debt help program? But there's always that soundbite in there somewhere, free. And somebody has to pay for it. So the way that it works is they'll basically get you to pay back the principal. So let's say you've got 3 credit cards, retail store card, maybe a Visa or MasterCard or something like that. And the total amount that you owe is about $20,000. So use nice, easy numbers. What they'll do is the affiliation that they have with the banks and credit card companies, because it's a nonprofit organization, will allow them to get a reduced interest rate. Meaning, if you were previously paying, let's say, in Canada, we've got some fairly expensive credit cards, like a Canadian Tire card, for example, is 28.8%. Most Visas and MasterCards are usually around 19.99. Sometimes they're 22, 23. Sometimes you get promotional offers, and they're only for a short period of time, and then that just goes up to the regular rate. But either way, let's say the interest rate's around 20%. So they might reduce the interest rate from 20% down to, let's say, 9 or 10 or 11 or something like that. So let's say they chop it in about half. You're still paying back the full principal plus a good chunk of your interest over a period of about 5 years. Now, how do they get paid? Well, it's interesting, because I did a mystery shopper call probably 12 or 13 years ago when I first came across this specific type of organization and the way they structure it, because I found it unusual that they were promoting at that time on Google's ads free credit card debt help. And I'm thinking to myself, well, nobody works for free. I can't, have my employees show up at the office for free. So I looked into it and I started asking them questions. Of course, I'm calling in. I'm like, hey guys, I have some debt. What do you do? And how's this program free? And what they told me was, well, they have generous corporate donations that help people in financial hardships, which sounds all warm and fuzzy. It sounds like there's, some good that's happening out there, but the truth of the matter is it's not. And there is no free lunch. And where they're getting their money from is actually the banks and financial institutions. In fact, when you look at some of their websites, you'll see that because they're structured as a nonprofit, on their board of directors, they actually have like heads of, I'm going to butcher the term, but heads of each sort of bank and financial institution, credit card organization, trade organization. Sometimes it's accounting organizations that deal with the nonprofits. Sometimes it's actual people that work at the banks, at the board of directors. So these are the guys pulling the puppet strings. If you ever see those marionettes, so up here, is the big guys pulling the puppet strings, and down over here is the little guys that are doing the work for these guys. And all they're doing is they're saying, yes, you guys can help these people that are financially strapped, because we'd rather them not go bankrupt, or we'd rather them perhaps not use a settlement strategy to get out of debt, or we'd completely rather them just not ignoring the debt and doing something rather than nothing. And then what ends up happening is you end up getting yourself in a deal for 5 years that does nothing to improve your credit. In fact, it's viewed upon on the credit report essentially the same thing as a bankruptcy. And then these nonprofits get their donations from the very people that you owe the money to. So figure out the vicious cycle. The people that you owe the money to, that you're struggling to pay, will then employ nonprofit organizations who then don't tell you, transparently the honest truth about where they get their money from and how they're funded. What they'll just tell you on the phone is, we get corporate donations from generous institutions that are trying to help out financially strapped people, was the answer that I got when I asked anyway. And then, they're pulling the puppet strings, telling these guys what to do. So you pay back the full principal, so the $20,000 plus about half your interest over the course of 5 years. It's basically viewed upon as a bankruptcy, although you do get out of debt, and you pay back about half of your interest. So your total cost to get out of debt on 20 grand over 5 years, it could be 25, 26, maybe $30,000, depending on what deals they've got with the financial institutions. And not all of them, by the way, work with these organizations that purport to be free. Some of them do not, in fact. Some of them are unwilling to cooperate. And then you might have, I don't know, a lot more debt and 6 or 7 credit cards, and maybe only 4 or 5 of them participate out of the 6 or 7 in total. And you might be left with some outside of it that may not be willing to work with them. So it's an unusual way, I feel anyway, and in some cases somewhat dishonest, because if you're struggling to pay people back that you can't, yet they're the ones basically paying for the service, and they don't actually directly pay. So what ends up happening is, if they're taking, let's say, $500 a month from you to distribute to all 5 of your creditors, let's just use $1 as an example. The $1 payment you give the nonprofit organization that purports to be free will usually hold back somewhere between, I'm not sure what the rate is right now, but as I understood it at the time when I was looking into this over a decade ago, it was somewhere between 7 and 15%. So instead of giving them the $1, what they end up doing is they end up giving them like 85 cents. And then the 15 cents, let's say, is held by the credit card company. And then they just kind of like round it up. I'm obviously breezing over some of the details of the way that they do their creative accounting, but that's how it's paid for. And then they kind of wrap it around this friendly banner and they call it free. So it's not free. So why is that a unhealthy way to approach dealing with debt? Well, it will get you out of debt, but again, the downside is you're paying back the full amount plus some interest to an organization that's really not saving you any money whatsoever, and they're getting paid by the very people that you owe the money to. So it's kind of a kinder, friendlier collection agency, is the way that it's been portrayed behind the scenes from industry insiders, like guys like me that understand it, which is fine. They've got it legally structured. There's nothing illegal about this structure. It's just, I feel like they're not completely transparent about the way they go about their business. So you have to understand that there's some underlying notions behind that. Now, what does that look like versus a settlement strategy that Total Debt Freedom offers? Well, if you take that same $20,000, we end up usually having most of the people pay back a little under half of what they owe. We'll just use half. We'll just round it up and use an easy number. So you don't pay back the interest. You pay back half of about the principal, and then some service fees, of course, for the work. So your total cost to get out of debt is probably going to be somewhere in the realm of, let's say, $13,000 to $17,000. So you take $13,000 to $17,000 on a settlement strategy over the same period of time, which has a significant improvement to your credit card debt and your credit rating, simply because you're not throwing small payments every single month at all 5 or 6 or 7 of the debts. You're actually dealing with them one after the other. So depending on your balances, but let's say every 8 to 12, maybe 14 months or so, each debt is knocked off one after the other, which shows an improvement on your credit report quicker. So long story short, at the end of the 5 years, you're going to have a better credit rating. It's going to cost you a lot less money. Again, it's somewhere between $13,000 and $17,000 versus $26,000 to $30,000 for the free program. And while you do pay a fee for the service, for the actual service to settle the debt, the total overall cost over the free program is considerably less. So $13,000 to $17,000 paid program, what Total Debt Freedom does, versus perhaps $23,000 to $30,000, $25,000 to $30,000, something like that. So it costs considerably more. So you have to understand that, guys, there is no free lunch. That's really the long and short of it, is there is no free lunch when it comes to credit card debt remedies. There's a cost to everything. Nobody works for free. You don't have employees showing up to work, donating their time for free. I don't go to work for free. Nobody goes to their job during the day and, punches in and says, I'm just going to do this for free because I'm a kind and generous person. You've got bills to pay, and so do organizations that pay to do this work. It's my view always that if you want the best possible service, you want to hire a professional that's working in your best interest. So if you're paying the company, they're looking after you. If the company is getting paid by the very people that you owe, well, all you have to do is follow the money. If they're getting paid by the people that you owe, guess whose interests they're looking after, and guess why you pay back considerably more. So you can call it, Hakuna Matata. You can call it free. You can wrap it in, fuzzy prettiness and some Tinkerbells and all that. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter what label you put on it. If you follow the money, the total cost and the origin of how the service is paid for comes from somewhere. And free does not exist. It never has existed, never will exist. Never think that there's a quick and easy route to getting better results out of life. Everything when it comes to getting better results out of life is dressed in overalls and looks like work. And there's things involved that aren't always that comfortable. Just understand those cold hard truths. I think we can wrap it up on that note. And if you guys have credit card debt, you can visit totaldebtfreedom.ca. It has to be over $15,000 collectively. And just fill out that form. You'll get a free quote and learn about how the program works and how it can save you money. If the type of debt that you have, or it's not enough, or it might fall into different categories that the office can't service, they'll recommend something that's a better fit for you. So never fear. So we'll wrap it up on that note. We'll be back again next Saturday, 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. We'll get Andrew in on the next one. Different topic every Saturday. If you guys have a topic suggestion in the comments below, leave it as a recommendation. Let us know what it is that you'd like to cover, and we'll see you guys in the very next broadcast. Have an amazing day. We're out.